What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Dolphins In Depth podcast. I'm Daniel Oyefusi. That is David Neal. Thanks so much for tuning in. Quick reminder before we start, make sure to subscribe to the Miami Herald YouTube page. Subscribe to the Miami Herald, as a matter of fact. But on the YouTube page, subscribe, like, share, comment, drop some questions, drop some comments, all that good stuff. The Miami Dolphins are 3-0. They're one of two undefeated teams remaining in this young NFL season, along with the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Dolphins, I mean, they got to be the hottest team in the NFL, right? They just knocked off the Buffalo Bills, who entered the season as the favorites, still are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. And what I have to say is probably one of the biggest wins in recent franchise history. The Dolphins knocked off Buffalo 21-19, late game theatrics. We had a goal line stop. We had a butt punt. We had a free kick. We had time running out as the Bills scrambled to try to clock the ball and get one more Hail Mary or field goal attempt. But it didn't matter because the clock hit 0. And it was all celebration at Hard Rock Stadium, the second largest crowd since it was modernized in 2015. There were a lot of Bills fans, but there were a lot of Dolphins fans too, and they were given a reason to celebrate on Sunday. We're going to get into all of that. Dolphins got a short turnaround as well. Thursday night football on the road in Cincinnati, playing the Cincinnati Bengals, reigning AFC champions. So we got a lot to talk about. Well, we're going to start with that big win over the Bills. I woke up today looking at power rankings. The Dolphins are number 1, the top team in the NFL in a lot of power rankings, number 2 in some. So last week after the big win against the Ravens, the big comeback win in Baltimore, the question of the week was, are the Dolphins legitimate contenders? And I'm not gonna ask that question again. I think the question for this week is, what is this team's ceiling? When we talk to some players, Coach Mike McDaniel after the game, one thing that stood out to me was that Christian Wilkins said, our goals are bigger than starting 3-0 and beating the Buffalo Bills. Tua Tagovailoa said the expectations haven't risen, they haven't changed. We're just going to continue to work. And I gotta say, for me, taking this win, this 3-0 start into context totality, I think we all saw our most optimistic and people that were bullish on this team like me. I did have them missing the playoffs, but I said that they were going to win 10 games. They're going to be a hard out week in and week out. I think as this season has progressed, this young season has progressed, this has been a team where they've won in different fashions and they've impressed you in different fashions. Week 1, you're riding the dominant defense. Week 2, the offense explodes. Week 3, the offense isn't even on the field. The defense is on the field for 90 plus plays, but they make the key stops when they need to. And it's like the more they win in different fashions, specifically, the more you kind of start to see the vision and you're like, okay, I can see this. I can see this. I thought that this was going to be a team that was going to be in the mix for a playoff appearance at the end of the day. At the end of the season, you don't want to start talking AFC championships. You don't want to start doing that 3-0. But, to kind of quote Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I got the opportunity to talk to on a Zoom call earlier today, he said the Dolphins have a winning formula. And I think that you can definitely see that. Like they have an identity, they have a way to win, they have multiple ways to win. And I gotta say, as the weeks go on, as they keep on stacking these wins, it's like, all right, you start to see that this is legit. That we all saw the potential, but there were still question marks. And now as the season starts to go, you start to get those questions answered. So I got to ask to you now, what is this team's ceiling after its 3-0 start?
I think the ceiling in this year's NFL, as we look around this league, you could argue that Buffalo maybe is still the best team, maybe, but they did just beat Buffalo in a great game. I love this game, by the way. I loved this game, by the way. It's just everything about this game. I loved it. And but just as a football game, that was a great football game. But you look around, there's not I don't think there's a team that just grabs you as, okay, this is a great team. This is it looked like Buffalo the first couple of weeks. And again, like I say, it still might be Buffalo. if they get healthy, if they get home field advantage, if blah, 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 blah. But I mean, here are the Dolphins. They have a very good defense, a defense that, well, 2 of the 3 games, the defense has come up with big plays that have, either stoned an offense right in a scoring situation or created points for the offense, for the Dolphins' own offense, and they have an offense that's a big play offense. Period. Obviously it is an explosive offense. This is a big play league, and I mean, why didn't the Bills win the other day? Where were they? I mean, they had some 20-yard plays. I'm not. They have how many 30-yard plays they have? I'm not sure. How many
outside of the Diggs play, I mean, it was very methodical. It was a lot of dink and dunk run after the catch.
Exactly. It's exactly how you have the ball for 40 minutes and you lose, and you lose the game 21-17. And this is a big play league. Either you have big play players and they make those plays, or if you don't have them, odds are you're not going to win. I mean, there are exceptions, but generally it's about explosive plays and about so-called impact plays also on your defense. And right now, Miami has a defense that produces impact plays. They have an offense that produces explosive plays on the regular. So their ceiling's pretty high. I mean, yeah, it's week 3. We don't know who's going to, how the health's going to go the rest of the season. We don't know if somebody else in this league is going to kind of figure their own situation out and suddenly emerge as a great team. You don't know. And I point out last week, hey, I watched a good Dolphins team beat a Bills team that was in the exact same situation, kind of in their evolution and growth. I watched them blast them 30-7 out of the park, and at one year. And by the end of the season, those 2 teams met again, and the Bills, the Dolphins were a good team and the Bills were a very good to great team. But so as for what this means, it means right now the Dolphins are 3-0 and arguably the best team in the league.
That's fair. I will point out, and if you read the Miami Herald, you'll remember this. I referenced NFL. It was actually a simulation that they did last year of 10,000 17-game seasons, because obviously last year was the first 17-game season, and they said that when a team starts 3-0, I believe it's 76% of the time they can expect to make the playoffs, and 51% of the time they can expect to win the division. And when you start 4-0, that those odds to make the playoffs go up to, I believe, 86% or something, or 85%. Now, devout Dolphins fans will point out that the last time they started 3-0 was 2018, and they finished 7-9. Adam Gase's final year, didn't make the playoffs. He was fired. In fact, I believe the last 3 times they started 3-0, they did not make the playoffs. So if you're a Dolphins fan, there's reason for excitement, but there's also reason to kind of look back and say, hey, we want to press caution. But I will say again, when you beat, a Bill Belichick coach team in week 1, and then you beat 2 teams who have quarterbacks who are playing at top 5 levels, there's something to be said for that. And really, again, looking big picture, I want to ask you something that we put in a poll on the site, and kind of, again, branch out to an even bigger thing. Which game or which of the wins are you most impressed with? Is it the comeback against Baltimore, or is it this past win against the Bills, because a lot of people will point out, and really Bills fans for the most part, will point out that, and I will recognize it, that the Bills were playing without their entire secondary. They had some defensive linemen out. They even lost some guys in that game, and they lost by 2. How much of that are you factoring into your overall perception of the team, and which of those wins is most impressive to you? Because for me, even despite all the guys that the Bills were playing without, I'm more impressed with that win, because when your offense only plays what is it, about 40 snaps, you get doubled up in yardage, first downs, time of possession. I mean, most of the time you're not supposed to win that game. And I got to be honest, if that happens again, when they play in December for the second time, I don't think the Dolphins are going to be as lucky, because I do think that the Bills are going to be a little better prepared. They're going to be a little better in the red zone and whatnot. But I'm still more impressed with this past win over the Bills than anything I've seen from this team so far. What say you?
Definitely this game, there were moments in this game. I mean, even from early on, when they were, when they're down 7-0, there were so many moments in this game where, the Dolphins could have crumbled. And there were just so many. They stuffed this offense that's been, that first couple games just ran up and down the field on the Rams and the Titans, and took off, had these big chunk plays. It sounds so simplistic, but they really did. They just kept fighting, even in the individual plays. The play in the end zone where the receiver had it for a touchdown.
Gabe Davis, that was a touchdown. People said it was a touchdown. Keon Crossan made a great play to
right. He makes a great play right at the end. That last drive as Buffalo's getting into range, and a lot of teams would have said, okay, we've been out here all this time. And also the offense has been out there too. That's when everybody says, time possession, the offense is not like driving cars or anything. They're out there exerting themselves too. So it's not like they're not feeling tired too. But, here was the defense, Buffalo theoretically should have been able, with all that time possession and everything, should have been able to not just to literally punch it in, push the Dolphins back into the end zone. Okay, thank you very much. Good night. Let's get out of here. They weren't able to do that. The Dolphins made them work for it. And then, Josh Allen, threw a Tim Hardaway pass to on fourth down.
Yeah, I don't know what. I didn't realize how open the receiver was until I saw the replay. And it was just, I don't know if the Dolphins confused him and made him hesitate or what, but he just missed right there.
He threw a bad pass, but that's what happens when you make teams go one more play. If you don't, when you don't give up on the play,
you leave yourself open to that where the offense makes a mistake or they make a misstep.
Right. And 3rd and 22. Hey, look, you could say, what are the Bills doing? Only rushing 3 people. For that, when I saw that play, I'm like, are you out of your minds? It's 3rd and 22. Don't give him time for the fast guys to get open.
Yeah.
If you're Buffalo, what are you thinking about? And as soon as it's all about, like, okay, now he's going to sit back there, and somebody's going to run up there and get free, for 15 or 20 yards or 30 yards, something like that. Okay, and that's what happened. Yeah. But again, they hung in there, and they made that, and Tua made that play. Tua and Waddle made that play. And this was a tough game. It was a game of attrition. I like that. I like that, Bill. Both sides. Dolphins were losing people too.
They were, yeah.
And you almost felt like this is one of those games where, this is why you have a 53-man roster of 45 dressing and everything.
Yeah, 48 nowadays. Yeah.
Right, 40. Okay, 48. Right. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm flashing back. Last collective bargaining agreement. But it's that last person, everybody you dressed on game day played or had to play a role.
Yeah.
And, the special teams guy who, stops him on the, downs the punt deep and makes Buffalo go 97 yards. That was another one. That's why at the end of games, I know people love okay, let's go for it. Let's put it away. And I'm like, why don't you put it down there and make him go like 90 something yards to win the damn game?
Yeah.
But making Buffalo go that whole distance, it just, I think everybody played a part in winning this game. And it was just as a football game, and as it was, I'm sure there's like some coaches are just going out there like, whoo. I'm sure there were coaches like, wanting a cigarette after that game. But that was an impressive win to me. And, it doesn't, what it means in the bigger picture, we discussed that, could they be taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender now? Sure. Look at the rest of the AFC, which is supposed to be the better conference. But I thought it was a very impressive win by the Dolphins, and I think they should be very proud of it. And I think what's going to be interesting is to see, you got this turnaround now, and let's see how, this turnaround goes. Because this is going to be this is a tough one. This is tough. I mean, I don't care if the Bengals haven't looked like, the Bengals haven't looked that great so far.
It's always tough on Thursday night on the road, playing a team as talented as the Bengals, even if maybe the record doesn't suggest that. But again, I mean, I even wrote it in my game story. This was, I didn't want to start saying Super Bowl. I mean, you don't want to talk about it that early, but I said that in my game story. The Dolphins staked their early claim as one of the NFL's elite teams, and now it's just a matter of seeing whether they can sustain that. And we are going to see that, as you alluded to, on Thursday night, quick turnaround in Cincinnati playing the Bengals. We're going to talk about that, but we're going to take a quick break. So stay locked with us. What's going on, everybody? I'm still here with David Neal on the Dolphins In Depth podcast. And as we said before, the Dolphins had a big win on Sunday, but they got to turn it around. Christian Wilkins usually alludes to the 24-hour rule. No. We got the 12-hour rule now, he said, as they look to play the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football. But I want to start with, some injury concerns. We had Tua Tagovailoa, starting quarterback, who had a bit of an injury scare against the Bills. We saw him get shoved to the ground by Matt Milano, banged his head. He was a little stumbly, legs wobbled. There was fears about maybe a head injury, a concussion. He goes to the locker room. The Dolphins say he's questionable to return with a head injury. A lot of people were thinking concussion. Tua's out for the rest of the game, but no, Tua came back to lead the team in the second half. Afterward, the team said he and Coach Mike McDaniel said that it was actually a back injury that flared up. They said he sustained it in the first quarter, and then the shove to the ground re-aggravated that. Tua has been limited in practice. The team is barely even practicing on this short week. He was estimated on Monday to be a non-participant. Mike McDaniel said he'd be limited Tuesday, and then we'll see his game status for Thursday. Tua did, to his part, he did say that he plans to play. He's just feeling a little bit sore. But I got to ask quickly, if Tua is unable to play, Teddy Bridgewater would likely start. He came in for 3 snaps. Didn't look that good. I think the question is now, like, if Tua can't play, can they win with Teddy? And I got to say, I remember last year when Tua he fractured his ribs, and Jacoby was stepping in. Tua was placed on IR, and Jacoby had to step in for a couple of games. And I was one of many people that said, I don't think there's going to be a drop off with Tua. I mean, without Tua and Jacoby in there. And I got to say, I was wrong. I had to eat my words. No, there was a big drop off in the offense with and without Tua. I think he is going to play. But I think that there is that concern if Tua can't play and Teddy has to step in. He's a veteran, but we just see, Tua's playing on a different level right now with a higher level of confidence. What say you if Tua can't play and Teddy has to step in? How does this change things for the Dolphins?
I think they're going to be relying even more so on the catch and runs. Even more so on the yak.
You might be comatose off the yak.
Yeah.
Not drunk off the yak.
More, yeah. More yaks than in Canada. But they, because Ted, I mean, the deep ball isn't Teddy's game. It really isn't. And
I mean, it wasn't really Tua's game, but in this offense,
I think that was a misnomer. I think that was a misnomer. I think it was good enough. It was enough at his game, and I don't think Teddy's going to make. He's the backup you want. He's a veteran. He shouldn't make any goofball plays. He shouldn't try to do things that he doesn't do well. He's not going to put himself or the team in bad positions. You hope. That's the whole point of having Teddy Bridgewater as your backup quarterback. Can they win with? Yeah, I think they can. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the offense is as explosive, but I'm not sure you need that as much. Cincinnati really doesn't protect Joe Burrow very well. And the Dolphins have been all over quarterbacks. Well, okay, wait, take back. They were all over two of the three quarterbacks that they played so far. And
I mean, they got decent pressure against Josh Allen, but he just dude was just bouncing off of him in that game. I don't think they're gonna have as much of that issue with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, he's Josh Allen have a dad bod in a few years, but right now he's like one of the X-Men or something. He was bouncing off him. So, I think they're going to get after Burrow. I think they're going to create turnovers against Cincinnati. I think they're going to get. They've given the 2 of the 3 games they've given the offense short fields
or scored.
Yeah. And the other one, they made a stop on 4th down that gave the offense a, not short, but medium length field. So I think that's going to happen 2 or 3 times actually Thursday night against Cincinnati, and that'll give the Dolphins. That'll be what the Dolphins need. So I think they can win with Teddy. Obviously, there is a drop off. And obviously, you know how the reps go in practice in the NFL. You and I combined have thrown to, Hill and Waddle only probably 5 or 6 less times than Teddy has in the last month. So, and that folks, that's not an exaggeration. They don't. It's not like they work the backup quarterback in.
It's not like training camp where it's like Tua, Teddy. Yeah. Skylar, Tua.
Yeah. So, yeah, they can win with them, but it's not. I don't think it will be as smoothly. I don't think will be as definitively as if Tua plays. I think if Tua plays, I think they really take it to Cincinnati.
Really?
I think they can. So
I will say real quick, the Bengals are 4-point favorites, which I thought was insane. Somebody told me that, and I thought it was insane. They opened at 2.5, and I don't know if it's the Tua injury, but it sounds like he's gonna play, so it can't be that. Vegas usually, I say, Vegas is the Illuminati because they just know something that we don't all the time. And I do agree that I think that it's a good matchup for them, but weird stuff happens on Thursday Night Football when you're a road team. We saw what happened on a short week when Baltimore came down here. They weren't prepared for Miami's blitzes. Tua came in, made some plays. The Bengals are talented. I mean, they're 1-2, but they're talented. They got back on track. I do think it is a good matchup for the Dolphins up front with the offensive line and with the Bengals offensive line against the Dolphins defensive line. But they got 3 guys who can go out there and put up 100 yards receiving with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. I don't know what's up with T. Higgins, but they got 3 guys if healthy. And I know I was wrong we were both wrong last week.
Right.
But on a short week, Tua injury, a lot of injuries. I don't know.
But it wasn't like we were like stupid wrong.
Well, I will say, I'm not gonna lie. When the Bills announced that their entire secondary was out, I was texting my friends like the Dolphins are probably gonna win this game. But we recorded this on a Tuesday ahead of a Sunday game. I wanted to take integrity. I didn't flip-flop. So be it. But in my mind, just know, Dolphins fans, I had picked the Dolphins after the injuries popped up. But this week, with some injuries on the Dolphins side, Teron Armstead, he's not going to have 5 days of no practice and rest and recuperation to heal that toe. He's got 3 days and he's got to go out there. Tua's got a sore back. He said, on Tuesday when he talked to us, he said he hasn't even thrown yet. So I think he does play, but again, on a short week, it's just weird stuff happens. And I think that the Bengals have the talent where they can win this game on the road on a short week.
It's not that I don't think the Bengals can win. This is the NFL. They are the defending AFC champions, and they are they do have talented skill players. I just don't like them. I think the matchup a lot of the matchups just generally favor the Dolphins and the type of game this could be. Of course, we've missed on the type of game. It could be the Baltimore game. The other 2 games, I think we kind of knew how it might go, even though we didn't predict 40 minutes of possession time for one team last week. But still, this is the one thing that I think also does kind of lean to that might help Cincinnati is, and people forget this, the Dolphins players, they're human beings and they're citizens and they've got families, they have homes. Some of them are probably a little worried about this storm stuff too. And you think, oh, they just put that out of their mind. No, you don't. You put it out of your mind at game time, but the run up, the preparation, things getting thrown off. And the fact that your wife's having to deal with this stuff, and it's not just your wife dealing with it, but there's a safety element to it, and especially if you haven't been through it before, that can throw teams. That can just throw teams. That it can throw off your mental preparation. Once you're playing, it's not like once you're on Thursday night, they're going to be sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, my wife's got the power out. But it can affect your mental preparation, and it can be tough to, and in a league where things are this tight still.
Something like that, where you're maybe just not right on a short week.
That can be a tipper. That can be tip. But that line though, it reminds me, the last time I was in Vegas, no kidding, it was a Sunday, like 2008. I was covering the league at the time, and for some reason the lines were I almost felt like they were an insult. I was taking my father-in-law, who loves sports, to a sports book for the first time. If you want to see look like an 80-year-old man in sports Disney World, he was like, I have no idea how he'd never been to a sports book before. Anyway, I was teaching him, telling him, okay, we can bet this, but I was like, what the? Oh, this is an insult. This is an insult, right? We put money down on this. We're taking the money for this.
And what happened?
Like 3 or 4 times. Hit everything in the NFL.
Okay.
And, Rob Baronis like a field goal like that at the end of the half, and we would have been perfect. And this one strikes me like that. Like, what? Really?
Man, Vegas is the Illuminati. They usually know something that we don't know.
I tried to take your money there.
No, you do make a good point though about just everything that we have with Hurricane Ian and the tropical storm watches in some areas. I mean, even the Dolphins themselves, they've moved their travel itinerary around to try to get ahead of this. So that is something that is a good point to mention, that they're again, like you said, they're humans. they're gotta have their helmets on. They seem like superheroes. They're playing on game for our entertainment, but at the end of the day, they're still juggling life and whatnot. So who knows, how that factors into the short week and whatnot. But it seems like you're still sticking with the Dolphins, and I'm going with the Bengals on this.
Really,
I just think again,
it is tough to come off a big win in a short week. That it's tough for a young team to make that transition. That's another mental thing. That's there now. If they show they can do that, that is really, I think that would be a tribute to the coaching staff, and it's also a test of this coaching staff that you could say 12-hour rule, 24-hour rule, whatever the hell you want, but again, they're human. They just won this huge emotional game. The place is rocking. You're not spending just 12 hours enjoying that. You're like, and especially if you're not really practicing like you normally are and everything, no, you're still feeling that, still feeling that a little bit. So, I mean, that's another thing that does lean in the Bengals' favor. And it'll be a test of the coaching staff and the team leaders to pull everybody. Okay, let's move on to this. Let's knock this out, and then take a nice long get the nice long rest. But so you're gonna take the Bengals on this one, huh?
I am, but you're right. I mean, this is the opportunity again. I mean, I wrote it in my story, my follow up. It's an opportunity to separate from the pack. 4-0, long extended kind of mini bye ahead of the Jets game. I do want to point out before we head out that I just looked this up. This is from 2020, so my numbers might be a little different. But I was a little mistaken with the advantage that some home teams have on Thursday night. As of 2020, this was October 2020, it said Thursday home teams have won 57.9% of the time, very similar to the 57.1% that home teams have won in all other games. So it's nothing too out of the ordinary. But again, Thursday night, short week, not a lot of travel, injuries, big win. I'm going with the Bengals, but again, I'm not going to be surprised if the Dolphins win this game, because I do agree with you that this is a good matchup in a lot of places. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of the Dolphins In Depth podcast. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Reminder to subscribe to the Miami Herald YouTube page, subscribe to the Miami Herald, share, comment, all that good stuff. We'll be back next week to recap another weekend of Miami Dolphins football. But until then, you guys take care. To everyone in the general Florida area, you guys stay safe during this storm. Talk to you soon. Bye.